that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was clicking! But he had that one to give us going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Hour number 3, more hot topics, more fun here at Stubbs Anderson. It's Donnie right side. In this hour, we're going to spend the time talking some Major League Baseball, which down the stretch they come. Basically 2 weeks left in the season, a lot to be decided, whether it's just making the playoffs or jockeying for positioning in the playoffs here. So, Dubsy, it's hour number 3. We got 2 hours down. The energy is still high. We're ready to bring the high heat this hour.
We're just warming up, Donnie. Happy Wednesday there to all the viewers. See what, no shortage in the sports world. We are getting after it. Playoff baseball, playoffs in the W, and of course week 3 in the NFL. So it's an absolute bevy for the bettors. I feel like I'm in Vegas, Donnie. I've got the old plate out going around the buffet, just loading up on sports talk.
Nothing better than Vegas buffets out there. Back in the day, they used to be reasonably priced. Now, you got to take out a second mortgage to get in some of those bad boys. But as we digress into Major League Baseball, we always like to reach out and find out what the public has to think about, too. Because we're going to ask you questions. We want the responses. You hear me and Dubsy go back and forth with our responses. This is the way we can reach out to the people to have a true interactive show. At SportsGrid, here's what we asked today in our Fade the Public poll. Which of these National League teams will miss the postseason? The Braves, the Diamondbacks, the Mets, and the Padres. Almost 500 votes. The people love themselves some Major League Baseball. The favorites here right now, it's the Braves at 53% to miss the playoffs, followed by the New York Mets at 26%, followed by the Diamondbacks and the Padres. Let's start with the leaders in the clubhouse at more than 50% of the vote. It's the Braves, Dubsy, and it's also the same team I voted for to miss the playoffs.
It's not the same team that I voted for, Donnie. So, okay, tell us what's going to go wrong here for the Braves. They're getting set to take on the Reds over in Cincy, so they're on the road. Then they get the Marlins on tap. They close out. It's a very tough couple of series coming into their house with the Mets in Kansas City there. So what is it that you're not buying into before I give my team that it's an absolute fade?
It's almost we're looking just at the standings now and saying, well, yeah, if everybody, Dubsy, of those 4 teams was equal and tied in the standings, we'd say, okay, now we're going to see who's actually going to get in. So sometimes just the process of elimination, like time is running out. you have to jump other baseball teams. You're now 2 full games back of trying to catch the Diamondbacks and or the Mets, which means you got to jump at least one of those, which also says the Braves have to play much better baseball than they've been playing, which were losers of 3 straight games, going up against the Mets playing better baseball, winning 2 of those games. But I'm just looking at from a standings perspective, and not necessarily do I say I not like these teams, but right now, the Mets are playing much better baseball than the Braves, and also coupled with, I just think the Padres and the Diamondbacks are more talented overall than the Atlanta Braves. So put that all together, that's my vote, and also the public's vote here. The Atlanta Braves out of the playoff picture.
Yeah, I can see it, Donnie. Yeah, I try to throw my vote to support the Diamondbacks not playing October baseball, and it's pretty much a play against the schedule for mine. The public, we're not seeing it the same, but to take on the Brewers in Milwaukee, that's going to be a very tough series. It doesn't get easier than taking on the Giants. San Francisco come into their building, and then they finish with a 3-game series at the tail end of September going against the Padres. San Diego, who I think is one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. So considering that the form has not been there through the last couple of weeks, I'm going to go with the Diamondbacks, Donnie. But it just looks like the public, we ain't seeing it the same. So I'm going to take a team currently in the wild card mix to fall onto the outside as we go through the next couple.
How about that? Because if you are taking a look here, it looks like, again, the NL East has a legitimate chance here to get 3 teams into the postseason, which obviously starts with the Philadelphia Phillies winning that division. And in the wild card race are the Braves and the Mets. But I'm not surprised by this. 53% of that vote coming in on the Braves, but also second place in the voting process here is the New York Mets, because I just think most people from a season-long perspective almost expected once the Diamondbacks got rolling to say, yeah, they'll probably make the playoffs. Last year they made the playoffs and did a lot of damage in the playoffs. And then the Padres are too talented probably to keep out of the playoffs, which leaves the Braves leaking oil because of the injuries. And the Mets, sometimes we just don't know what to anticipate because this was a team we weren't looking at all that highly of throughout the first 3 quarters of the season, now playing great baseball and seem to make it into it. So I can see the way the public is actually voting at this point. And if we are taking a look at those true wild card standings here, if the season ended today, it's the Padres, it's the D-backs, and it's the Mets that are going to make it into the playoffs here, leaving the Braves, Cubs, and the Cardinals out. But if you are looking at some of those price points that were listed here, the Padres off the board, which means full expectations is we're not going to let you bet because they think they're almost a shoo-in to make the playoffs. Diamondbacks minus 385 and the Mets minus 310, which does make some sense, but it is interesting to me that the Braves do sit at a minus 135 price and not a plus money price to make it into the playoffs, should let you say the Diamondbacks or the Mets, who are tied, fall out of that. I would think that would be a plus money number, Dubs. Are you surprised that right now the price point here is a minus 135 for the Braves to make it into the playoffs?
A little surprised, but the odds makers obviously putting a lot of respect on that lineup, on that rotation. They certainly have the depth going through the next couple of weeks to make a bit of a charge into October. And I don't know if it was last week, Donnie, but I know we had the conversation. I do believe any of these teams that make it through on the wild card can make a bit of a push and be legitimate contenders for a World Series. They're going to have to go on the road and get it done. But I really feel like it's wide open, this year going into October. The Dodgers remain short. The Phillies continue to fly. But all of the top teams have looked a little vulnerable and have had their moments going through the year. And a lot of these wild card contenders vying for the last couple of spots, they all bring in some pretty upside with the offense. On their night, they can certainly score at a very high clip. The Mets included with that. So the Mets, they've now rattled off a couple of wins on the bounce, looking to make it 3 here today. That's a team that can certainly score with the best of them if they can just have those starting arms to support.
What's also interesting to see in the standings here in the National League, there's only 4 teams that have been eliminated so far officially from playoff contention. That follows as the Marlins, the Rockies, the Nationals, and the Pirates, which also the Pirates now officially eliminated. We will see how much Paul Skeens still pitches down the stretch, but we don't have that long to go. Maybe they do let him go another extra 1 or 2 starts here, and he can climb back in that race here for the National League Rookie of the Year. But it is interesting to see, like teams that technically aren't at, like the Giants, are 10 games back of a wild card spot, still not eliminated. So I don't know what that means, where every single team ahead of them has to lose every game on the way out, and they have to win every game on the way out. Same thing here with the Reds at 9.5. The Cardinals certainly disappointing this year. The Chicago Cubs, who got it together quite a bit down the stretch, but still sit 6 games back. They're not going to make it, and they don't have enough juice left there for them. But it's the Braves, the Diamondbacks, the Mets, and the Padres. So if we are looking at those 4 teams here, let's just say, Dubsy, let's play from the top end of the spectrum. 1 seed, 2 seed, Philadelphia Phillies, Los Angeles Dodgers. Which team, if you're the Phillies or the Dodgers, would you want to avoid as that wild card team getting in? Braves, Diamondbacks, Mets, and or Padres?
It's going to be the Padres. They've got the starting arms. Yu Darvish, he's looked fantastic again. The offense has been absolutely thriving there. Fernando Tatis, once he's come into the mix. Manny Machado, another consistent year, one of the most consistent we've seen over the last few there. So I think it'd be the Padres. They're going to be a very tough out. They're playing some good baseball at the right time of the year, and they've certainly got the weapons to mix it with the likes of the Phillies, the Dodgers here in the National League. So for me, if I was in the clubhouse saying who do we not want to match up against in October, I think it'd be the Padres, who just have that consistency across the board, which would scare me being one of the top choices.
No, I think you're right with that, too, because how do we know, what's the use of the formula, Dubs, right, to get into the postseason and win? Give me strong starting pitching, which they should have. Give me timely hitting, which they have a very talented 1 through 9. And give me a bullpen, Dubsy, that when we're up 3-2 in the 7th inning, we're not going to blow that lead. The Padres seem to have it all. Now, if I'm the Philadelphia Phillies and say to myself, which team do I not want to see? Even though the Padres, I do believe, are the most talented team and also in that first wild card spot, you say, yeah, we've beaten the Padres in the past here in the playoffs. We should be able to do it again. It just might be those snakes down in Arizona that the Philadelphia Phillies just had to win one game, whether it was game 6 or 7, in their home ballpark to advance to the World Series, weren't able to do so. Devastating performance that maybe still could be in their head, but we'll certainly find out. The playoffs, we'll know those teams in 2 short weeks, but we know the teams jockeying for positions. The Padres, Mets, Diamondbacks, and Braves looking to go all in to make it into the playoffs. We're going to get some Major League Baseball handicapping breakdowns next, right here on the Early Line.
Ravens starting their season 0-2, and I mean the numbers and where the market had eyeing this team heading into this season is probably almost up in flames at this point.
In the last however many games, being down 10 plus points in the fourth quarter, inability to close out, getting picked apart by what is largely considered a below average quarterback with a below average receiving core.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Talk about your freshman year at Alabama and even the redshirt year that got you ready to perform at the highest level.
You had to learn a lot about humility, about being patient to play at Alabama, and you still knew that you're going to have a shot to win a championship every year. And so that's the line. And so I think that's what's really missing with today's football. You got NIL, you got social media.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into the Early Line. I'm Dubs Anderson. That is Donnie Rightside, and we're turning to the Wednesday slate in Major League Baseball. The Detroit Tigers squaring off against the Kansas City Royals, and the Royals looking to rumble, but they are going to be up against it this afternoon. Tarek Skubal toes the slab here for the Tigers. They got a nice win last night, 3-1, and it certainly looks like the starting pitching has to be in their favor at -148 on the money line today, Donnie.
I think it is too. And if we also take a look at both of these pitchers, they are quality pitchers. I have 27 pitchers lined up on the card today. Last 60 days minimum of 20 innings pitched over those 60 days. And if we're looking, Tarek Skubal comes in number 4. But how about this? Alec Marsh comes in at number 9. So we do have 2 top 10 pitchers on the card going at it. But let's also focus on the hitting as well. Look at Tarek Skubal. On the year, sensational. 710 batters he's faced, a 116 ISO, and a 255 weighted on base percentage against. That's a Cy Young pitcher right there. He's going to win that. Last 30 days, equally impressive. A 105 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 275. He has been phenomenal, both against left-handed batters and right-handed batters. Good luck tonight with that lineup for the Kansas City Royals, who does have some success against lefties, but this isn't your normal left-handed pitcher on the mound. Here's where the game, I think, is going to be won. Alec Marsh is on the mound. As I told you, quality pitcher. His last 60 days, Dubs, 30 2/3 innings pitched. And how about this? A 3.82 xFIP number, which is very manageable. He's dominant as a right-handed pitcher against right-handed batters. Having said that, he does struggle against left-handed batters, particularly over the past 30 days. 47 batters he's faced, Dubsy, an ISO of 366 against and a weighted on base percentage of 444. So if you look at that Detroit Tigers lineup here, take a look at how many left-handed batters you're going to have on the card tonight. Meadows, Carpenter, Green, Keith, Jung, Sweeney. 6 out of the 9 batters to be left-handed tonight. I think you have the better pitcher on the mound here for Detroit and the better lineup here for Detroit, as they're only 1.5 games back of that wild card spot. They pick up another victory today. Could the Tigers make the playoffs? They're certainly going to make a run here.
Yeah, they're trending in the right direction. And keeping with the American League Central, quite the showdown again this afternoon. The Guardians at home taking on the Twins. Both teams trying to make that push towards playoff baseball in October. The odds makers have this one projected to be very close. Take a look at the starting pitchers. It's Bailey Ober getting the nod for the Twins and Tanner Bybee getting the start here for the Guardians. You can see on the money line, very close to being a pick, and the total sits right around 7.5. So not a lot of runs expected for the Wednesday afternoon out there at Progressive Field, Donnie.
Now, you take a look, too, and you say, boy, that looks like a pick'em. Well, technically, even with the odds market, it's a pick'em, and as long with the analytical market, it looks like a pick'em as well. If we're lining these pitchers up, I just told you there's 27 pitchers I've rated today, 15 and 16 today. That's pitching in this game. So that tells you how close these pitchers are. 4.15 xFIP number, 4.25 xFIP number side by side. If we're focusing on Tanner Bybee on the mound today, you look at his numbers. He hasn't been great over the past 30 days, to say the least. An ISO power number against 236, a weighted on base percentage against a 363. He's really been hammered, Dubs, by left-handed batters, both on the season and over the past 30 days. So if we're looking at some RBI chances, you're probably going to look at the Twins and say, give me some left-handed batters. Wallner fits that profile, and Larnach fits that profile, because you look at Wallner, a 323 ISO against right-handed pitching over the past month, that is sensational. You look at Larnach, 224 ISO power number through his 69 bats over the past 30 days against right-handed pitching. That makes some sense. If we flip it over to the other side with Ober on the mound, he hasn't really struggled necessarily, but 110 at-bats that he's faced, he does have a combined 238 ISO power number, which is a little bit dangerous. However, that lineup that we love so much on a night-to-night basis, just taking Josh Nail and Jose Ramirez, they have struggled over the past month against right-handed pitching in this side. So if you're asking me on a side, it is a true pick'em. But if you did want some RBI opportunities here, take the 2 lefties on that Twins lineup, Wallner and Larnach. One of those guys is going to get an RBI tonight, and both of those guys are priced at plus money, so you put some extra money in your back pocket today.
Plus money peaches on a Wednesday, Donnie.
Love
things
those.
I love to hear. Get the people going on a happy hump day. All right, let's take it up to Seattle. T-Mobile Park, traditionally very tough ballpark to score in. Wasn't the case last night. The Yankees put up a monster performance, 11-2. Can the offense keep it hot, Donnie? A couple of very strong starting arms. It's nasty Nestor Cortez getting the start for the Yankees, and it's Bryce Miller getting the go here for Seattle. Right around even money. So your home dogs, and again, total set at 7.5. Do we see the explosive, high-octane lineup firing on all cylinders again here from the Yankees today?
This is a very interesting handicap because I think the better pitcher overall on the mound is from a Seattle perspective. The reason I say that, I have Bryce Miller 7th on my card out of 27 pitchers, a very manageable 3.60 xFIP over the past 60 days. But also, look at that ERA, 2.16. And that's not over like 10 innings, Doug. That's 58 and a third innings pitched. He's been really good. If we're looking at some of those non-analytical numbers and what's already happened, the last 54 batters that Bryce Miller has faced from the left-hand side have gotten the best of them. So my favorite RBI prop in the middle here is actually Austin Wells for the New York Yankees. But let's flip it over where the game is possibly going to be won or lost on the other side. Nestor Cortez, as I told you, is going to be the pitcher. He's a lefty. He really struggles with right-handed batters. Now take a look at the first 6 batters in the lineup today for the Seattle Mariners over the past 30 days against lefties. Robles, Rodriguez, Turner, Arozarena, Garver, and Moore. I'm going to read you their xFIP number and weighted on base percentages here, Dubsy. Robles, 250 ISO, 471 weighted on base percentage. Rodriguez, 214 ISO, 346 weighted on base percentage. And by the way, Rodriguez last night, 4 base hits in the game against the Yankees. Turner, 273 ISO, 362 weighted on base percentage. Arozarena, 227 ISO, 368 weighted on base percentage. Garver, 278 ISO, weighted on base percentage 390, and Moore, 294 ISO, and a weighted on base percentage of 514. I think I have the better pitcher and the better lineup on the side of the Mariners tonight. They got smoked last night, Dubsy. I think they can bounce back, and I'd be willing to take that plus money price here on the Mariners today to the upend the New York Yankees.
A home dog getting set to bark for your Wednesday afternoon. Aaron Judge now sitting with 53 home runs for the season, Donnie. It doesn't sound like it's going to be here this afternoon, adding to that tally, but still in search of another phenomenal season there for the Pinstripes. It's Juan Soto. Aaron Judge looking to soar again here for the Yankees up there at T-Mobile on what looks to be a chilly Wednesday afternoon. We're going to sneak in a quick break, but don't go anywhere on the other side. Talk from the majors continues with a couple of best bets coming up. Stick with us.
Ravens starting their season 0-2, and I mean the numbers and where the market had eyeing this team heading into this season is probably almost up in flames at this point.
Their last however many games being down 10 plus points in the fourth quarter, inability to close out, getting picked apart by what is largely considered a below average quarterback with a below average receiving core.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Talk about your freshman year at Alabama and even the redshirt year that got you ready to perform at the highest level.
You had to learn a lot about humility, about being patient to play at Alabama, and you still knew that you're going to have a shot to win a championship every year. And so that's the line. And so I think that's what's really missing with today's football. You got NIL, you got social media.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into the early line. The baseball talk continues. Two of the power threats here in majors. The Phillies squaring off against the Brewers. They're one apiece for this series, Donnie. We get Aaron Nola out there for Philadelphia this afternoon, squaring off against Freddie Peralta. Both been very impressive going through the season here. So no surprises, the odds makers have this total set at a measly 7.5 in a pick'em.
Do we trust our eyes or do we trust the analytical numbers here, Dubsy? The reason I bring that up is Freddie Peralta is rated in those crosshairs. If we're looking at those 27 pitchers that I have rated here, he's 26th out of 27th, which is not a good sign. But if we are looking at those past 60 innings that he's pitched over the past 60 days, he's got a 3.13 ERA, which is really good in Major League Baseball. But that xFIP number is close to 5, which means he's getting a little bit lucky here. Not enough strikeouts, too many fly balls. You get the picture here. But also, if we're taking a look at Freddie Peralta's last 30 days against right-handed batters, it hasn't been great here. A 325 ISO against and a weighted on base percentage of 428. So if you're looking for some right-handed batters to step up to the plate and hammer away, JT Realmuto probably would be on that card. His last 51 at-bats he's had against right-handed pitching, he's got a nice 360 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 485. The one guy that's not a right-handed batter but does have some crazy numbers is Kyle Schwarber, a 353 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 396 over his last 78 at-bats against right-handed pitching. But also, there are some question marks from a Philadelphia Phillies side here, Dubsy. Aaron Nola does have some pretty solid statistics over the past 60 days. He's 12th on the card today, an xFIP of 4.01. That's manageable. Did get damaged in his last start. And there's a couple of hitters in the middle of that lineup, Churio, Contreras, Mitchell, and Adames, who have very good statistics over the past month against right-handed pitching. But for me, I think Nola can outlast Peralta. The Phillies picked up the victory yesterday. A series win today would go a long way in holding off the Los Angeles Dodgers and, quite frankly, the Milwaukee Brewers, putting an end to them trying to fight up to that number 2 or number 1 spot here. I'll take the Philadelphia Phillies. The 8 is a tough number. I'd be more likely in a playoff atmosphere, Dubsy, to probably go under, saying we don't see 9 runs, but I do think there is some RBI opportunities, and I think the Phillies were able to pull out a victory against Freddie Peralta.
And, Donnie, I feel like we're absolutely spoiled. We've got some marquee matchups. I know we're 2 weeks out from the playoffs, but it really feels like it's got that intensity, the energy. It really is palpable for a lot of these teams in must-win spots. So let's bring it out to the West Coast. Perennial contenders, the Houston Astros there from the American League West, going against the Padres down there at Petco. It's Dylan Cease toeing the slab for the Padres. It's Framber Valdez, the All-Star for the Houston Astros, both holding a 109 whip. So both very, very strong with their stuff, Donnie, and it looks to be a great matchup down there in San Diego.
Here's a problem for San Diego. Not only getting a great pitcher, but you're also, as a team, not hitting well against left-handed pitching here, Dubsy. Take a look at the lineup today for the San Diego Padres. Profar's got decent numbers. Outside of him and Machado's high-weighted on-base percentage against lefties, everybody else is down in the dumps against left-handed pitching. And you're not just getting any left-handed pitcher. You're getting Framber Valdez on the mound. Look at his seasonal numbers. 649 batters he's faced, Dubsy, and ISO against 098, a weighted on base percentage of 273. He said, man, he's having a great season. Take a look now at his last 30 days, 99 batters he's faced. That 273 weighted on base percentage goes down to 195. That ISO of 098, which is microscopic as it is, drops to 045. He's been flat out unhittable, and I think that happens tonight. And Dylan Cease, no slouch here, Dubsy. Top 6 on my card. He's got a 2.80 ERA over the past 60 days, which included 61 and a third innings pitched. He's been phenomenal. But if I'm just looking at Framber Valdez, I don't know if Padres can touch him. It's got to only be the Astros for me tonight, and I'm not sure if they get 8 runs in this game either. So probably an underlook, but more also towards the Astros for me.
Oh, I like it. A couple of very close matchups expected. From the West Coast, let's take it out east to Citi Field as the New York Mets playing host to the Nationals here. The Mets have been playing some really good baseball. They pick up the first 2 of this series. They're your favorites again here. Minus 162 on the money line with another low total sitting there at 7. The Mets with everything to play for, currently holding that wild card spot at Citi Field. Is it the momentum carrying Mets for you, Donnie?
You probably would figure the Mets should win, but also, as we like to say, like pitchers on the other side aren't just going to say, like, well, it's the end of the season. I don't really care about my statistics. We're probably going to lose anyway, and let's get out of here. The reason I bring that up is DJ Hurst is a top 10 pitcher on the card today. His last 60 days through 49 innings, Dubsy, he has a 2.76 ERA coupled with a 3.77 xFIP number. That's very manageable here. And if we're lining up that New York Mets lineup to go up against Hurst, look, His latest 102 batters he's faced, 0.45 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 219. There are some right-handed batters I like at the bottom of that lineup, but no way I'm laying that big a number with how well DJ Hurts has been pitching. Maybe a stay-away game for your boy tonight, Dubsy.
Some great baseball coming up for your Wednesday afternoon. That's going to do it for me, Joe Lisi, on the other side.
Ravens starting their season 0-2, and I mean the numbers and what the market had eyeing this team heading into this season is probably almost up in flames at this point.
Their last however many games being down 10 plus points in the fourth quarter, inability to close out, getting picked apart by what is largely considered a below average quarterback with a below average receiving core.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Talk about your freshman year at Alabama and even the redshirt year that got you ready to perform at the highest level.
You had to learn a lot about humility, about being patient to play at Alabama. And you still knew that you're going to have a shot to win a championship every year. And so that's the line. And so I think that's what's really missing with today's football. You got NIL, you got social media.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hour number 3 rolling along. Dubs Anderson out there putting in that hard work for 2.5 hours. Now we welcome in the founder of the website locksbylisi.com. It's Joe Lisi. Welcome in, brother.
Oh, what is it? Has it been that long? Monday night?
Yeah.
I figured it was just a day ago. And I have to be honest, Donnie, I've been watching the videos. I haven't stopped. I can't get over those moments that me, you, and Kevin had on Monday night. Great action, and can't wait to do it tomorrow night for the Jets and Patriots.
Yeah, you two saying calm down to each other, knowing full well you're both laughing at me in the middle at this point. It doesn't go unnoticed at this. And from finding out from the SportsGrid Network, it's not just me that's taking the brunt of some of these, cheering against moments here. There's a lot of other hosts here that have been burned by Joe Lisi. So before we get to the Heisman odds, what do you want to say for yourself about cheering against other people in our program? Yeah. We're family here, I thought. No family?
We are family, right. And never cheering against, Donnie. I'm cheering in my bets. It's one thing when you have a bet and I'm on the other side, then I have to cheer in my bet. If you have a bet and I don't have a vested interest, then by all means, I'm rooting 150%. But I actually had Jalen Hurts to score the touchdown. You had Saquon Barkley. Why should I root for you when I needed to eat?
There's rooting for yourself, and there's cheering the downfall of one of your compadres here. That was the issue overall. But I understand how the game goes, and we will have probably 20 more opportunities on primetime football to cheer against Joe Lisi. So when Lisi's running back goes over 36.5 yards and he takes a 3-yard loss on the next carry, there's going to be wild cheers in the room as that bet gets pulled back. But if we are talking about betting landscapes here, Joe, I need some help here with Texas and what's going on down there. We knew heading in they had 2 talented quarterbacks. Ewers has been fantastic, but now banged up a little bit. coming in his place is Arch Manning. And if we're looking at those Heisman odds here, one guy 20-1, one guy 28-1. What's going on in Texas? And is it possible that Arch Manning could win a Heisman Trophy?
No, I don't think so, Donnie. I mean, right up until this point, I think Quinn Ewers is the guy because he got the victory over Michigan in week number 2 and quite honestly is more battle-tested than Arch Manning. Now, we have to see. They play UL Monroe this week. They do have a couple of games before the Red River rivalry. I expect Quinn Ewers to be under center for that matchup. They also have the top-ranked Georgia Bulldogs coming to Austin in terms of October 12th. I think Ewers will be under center in terms of that type of situation. So if we're looking at both players right here, right now, I don't think Arch Manning has value, especially since the fact that he came down from 120-1 all the way down now in the area of 28-1. He can only regress in the area of maybe 30-50 in that area. So we'll see how it plays out. Right now, I wouldn't suggest or recommend jumping on both of these players because they'll take away votes from each other. There's other players that I think have better value heading into week number 4.
Let's take a look at that other Heisman Trophy Awards market here, which does have the Miami Hurricanes' Cam Ward sitting at the FanDuel Sportsbook, Joe, at a plus 450 number, followed by Milroe and Dart here, and then Gabriel at 9-1. So I always like to start at the top here. Do you agree right now the leader in the clubhouse should be Cam Ward?
Yeah, because he has that marquee win over Florida. They're averaging 405 passing yards per game. There's refound and newfound optimism from Miami. And again, they're undefeated, right? That's what we expected when Miami got the victory over Florida. We've seen the progression as it relates to the passing attack, and we've seen their former quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, get injured for Wisconsin, right? So it's a complete upgrade to what they had last year. They have to maintain that momentum. I don't suggest, and personally, I wouldn't buy into Cam Ward at plus 450 now because they still have big games on their schedule. Next week, they play Virginia Tech. They also have to play a rivalry game with Florida State and others in terms of the conference teams like Louisville that are undefeated heading into week number 4. So we have to see how this plays out. But he is deserving, Donnie, of the plus 450 price because he's done it on the football field.
Let's get to the SEC. If I give you one bet at even odds right now, it's 6-1 and 6-1, Milroe and Dart, which quarterback are you taking to win the Heisman and why?
Well, I would take Dart. I was on Dart preseason, and I just think that they're a little bit more complete than where Alabama is right here, right now. They're struggling a little bit, Alabama is, with consistency. We saw that last week, not covering the number against USF. They pulled away in regards to that matchup a couple weeks ago. We saw them dominate Wisconsin, but that's not an elite passing attack or an elite offense in terms of the Badgers. They still have to play Georgia in a couple weeks. I think that'll be the telltale sign. I think if we're betting right now 6-1, I have more confidence in Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart that are basically averaging 60 points per game than Milroe and Kalen DeBoer, especially in regards to a big spot. So I would take a shot on Dart. But I will say this, Carson Beck at 14-1, Donnie, has everything in front of him. He's got Alabama and he's got Texas. The fact that he regressed a little bit last week because they beat Kentucky by 1 point, I think he has the best value out of all the SEC quarterbacks right now.
We look at that entire list here. The only difference is everybody's a quarterback but Ashton Jeanty of Boise State. You see him at a 20-1 price. Is there a legitimate chance, if some of these guys falter above him, that he can find his way into New York City with a legitimate chance to win this award?
Yeah, well, I think 2,000 yards would have to be probably in the area. We saw that with Jonathan Taylor, the last running back to be invited in regards to the Heisman. We saw the last running back to win it was Derrick Henry back in 2015 in terms of that season. So, again, Ashton Jeanty has the body of work, especially stepping up 6 touchdowns in week 1 against Georgia Southern. He followed that up with a dynamic performance against undefeated Oregon. Even though they lost that matchup, they still covered and they lost by 3. Assuming that Boise State's in the running for a potential college football playoff spot, he's deserving and would definitely be invited to New York in regards to the Heisman Trophy. Would he win it? I'm not so sure. He would have to put up dynamic numbers, Donnie, and they would only have to have 1 loss on the season.
Yeah, this is all going to play out on the football field. And as we know, it's not a postseason award. It's a regular season award. So it's like, hey, that guy played really well in the college football playoff. That doesn't count at this point. It's who's going to win the regular season, which now we'll get to who can win in the postseason as well, Joe. College football national championship odds. If we're looking right now at the FanDuel Sportsbook, it is Ohio State at a plus 330 price, followed closely by Georgia at 4-1, Texas at 5-1, Alabama, Oregon, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Miami, Penn State, and USC rounds that out. So again, let's start at the top. For you, should Ohio State be the favorite right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the national championship?
No, I would actually put Texas, and that's still the injury to Quinn Ewers. And the reason why I say that is they have the more impressive victory over Michigan. They look like the most complete team right now. I mean, they're steamrolling opponents and covering numbers, right? And then what has Will Howard and Ohio State done? We'll get another test in regards to not a MAC opponent, but a group of 5 opponent in regards to Marshall this weekend. They have looked lackluster to me. I mean, to me, Texas is the most complete team on paper, and they've done it on the defensive side of the ball. So until that changes, I would make Texas number 1. I would put Georgia number 2 because I think they're better than Ohio State, and I would have Ohio State 3 right now based off the body of work with Will Howard.
You take a look, too, the SEC, certainly no stranger to winning national championships or getting into the college football playoff, but Georgia in that 2 spot now, Texas in the 3 spot, Alabama in the 4 spot, then Ole Miss and Tennessee showing up there as well in this odds market. So if I asked you today, if you said, you know what, forget about the odds, the national championship will come from this conference, would it just be the SEC?
Yes, I really believe that. I mean, I really be impressed this coming weekend, and as we head into conference play in regards to the Big Ten. I need to see Michigan step up. I need to see some of these other teams like Oregon really dominate. They beat up on Oregon State, but I need to see that when they get into conference. Can they dominate as well, and can they maintain that consistency? Right now, to me, the SEC is hands down the best conference in college football.
Yeah, it's fun to take a look at it here so early in the season. As we know, these things will work themselves out. But the one thing we're not going to have those big arguments, Joe, as we sat last year on Pro Football Today in Atlantic City and waited for the college football top 4 playoffs to be released. We're not going to have those major arguments, which is a great thing. We're going to get good football, and it's going to be decided on the field, not in some conference room 3,000 miles away of who they think the better football team will be. Let's talk some NFL action, because tomorrow the boys will be back on prime time. It's New England and it's New York. Let's cover it next right here on the Early Line.
Ravens starting their season 0-2, and I mean the numbers and what the market had eyeing this team heading into this season is probably almost up in flames at this point.
Their last however many games being down 10 plus points in the fourth quarter, inability to close out, getting picked apart by what is largely considered a below average quarterback with a below average receiving core.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Talk about your freshman year at Alabama and even the redshirt year that got you ready to perform at the highest level.
You had to learn a lot about humility, about being patient to play at Alabama. And you still knew that you're going to have a shot to win a championship every year. And so that's the line. And so I think that's what's really missing with today's football. You got NIL, you got social media.
The Early Line. only on SportsGrid.
Big news on the early line. We love to break that information from somebody that's broke a ton of information over, I don't know, the past 20 years or so, at least how long we've had social media. A true Woj bomb today. Adrian Wojnarowski looks like he's leaving the field of breaking news, Joe Lisi. That's going to be a big void here that maybe Shams Charania is now the king of breaking news specifically for the NBA.
Yeah, you think he'll get a raise, Donnie, in regards to that? I mean, he's the only guy now covering the NBA. I just don't know what it means in regards to just, how we get our news fix and how we get the breaking news as it relates to the league. But a body of work that's unprecedented, right, has broken a number of different stories throughout the NBA, and we'll see if it can continue this year. But obviously a huge loss in regards to the league and the media.
Now, we got great guests here on the Pro Football Today show on Sundays. Dr. Chow joins us here. Cap breaks a lot of these news. How about Kevin Walsh opening up a segment? Okay, here we are, Pro Football Today. Let's welcome in Adrian Wojnarowski here to the panel. I mean, hey, we got spots here at the grid for Woj if he wants to come along with us.
Well, I think Kevin will be definitely in the mix to pushing that and making that happen, right? We'll see. One of Kevin's favorites. That's how Kevin gets all his fix, right? In regards to LeBron and all the breaking news in the NBA. So we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully.
I mean, new podcast on the network, Woj, Lisi, and Bowden. I mean, it won't get any better than that at that point during football season. We can make it happen.
You're
but also,
rare form today.
I'm in form today because tomorrow, like I say, returning back to the scene of the crime, which is primetime football from in-studio action. Joe Lisi, Donnie Rightside, and Kevin Walsh will be breaking down New England and New York. That is the Jets edition tomorrow. The AFC East, the Jets come into this game. Underwhelming game number one. Put a victory on the board against the Tennessee Titans in game number two. You take a look at the New England Patriots coming in this one. Very impressive in week number one and a hard-fought overtime loss in week number two. So for me, Joe, from preseason, right, before the season started till now, you probably looked at this game and said the Jets just might wipe the floor with the New England Patriots. But the Patriots have showed me something. Toughness, a coaching staff that's using that team correctly at this point, and Jacoby Brissett running an offense that's looking to smash you in the mouth and continue to play. The one thing that we did see, Joe, you see opening night, look, you ran all over that Jets defense. Let's start there. That New England offense versus that Jets defense. Can we see some points?
I looked at this number and I was like, it's a dead under, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah, me too, though.
When you saw Geno Smith and his ability to attack the New England defense over the top, and we saw Will Levis put up 17 points last week. That was a pathetic offense heading into that matchup. You got to believe that at least Jacoby Brissett and Ramondre Stevenson could run the football, utilize the short to intermediate passing game, and maybe force turnovers and maybe get this over the 38.5. Looking at this number right now, Don, I would probably take a shot on the over. I don't love it, but 38.5. If you're Aaron Rodgers and you're the New York Jets, you have to believe this is the game after watching Geno Smith and those wide receivers attack them for 300 plus last week. You got to believe this is a breakout performance, right? Why not? We saw Braylon Allen get involved. This is a Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard type of game, and let's get it on. Let's try to push tempo and force Jacoby Brissett to play from behind.
My first inclination is with yours as well, that under 38.5, because so many times you take a look and say, what builds into an over? Now, granted, price point is price point. It's not 53.5. It's only 38.5. That's not a lot of points. But you want those big explosive plays. And I don't know, Joe, if we're ready to see that yet. Because even though, say what you want. The Jets face the 49ers. That's a really good defense. The Jets also face the Titans, who I believe have given up the least amount of yardage in the NFL through 2 games. That's a pretty solid defense. And so is New England. What are we going to get out of the Jets offense in this game to sort of be more explosive? Now, last week you said, we just need to pick up a victory for the Jets. They go on the road, they get the win and cover. That's all you can ask for. But I'm waiting for that offense to be like, ooh, that's the Aaron Rodgers I've seen in the past. Hey, there's a deep shot there to Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams if he can wake up. I love their backfield so far. If they can get that passing game in gear, that's going to help. Can they do that on Thursday night?
I think they can, and I think both of those running backs are key in regards to opening up the offense, right? We saw Braylon Allen get involved in the passing attack. He had 2 touchdowns in regards to that matchup. His ability with Breece Hall, I think on the ground, Donnie, is where the Jets can work off of play action. Look for Breece Hall to run the football 64.5. I think he can get over that, but I also think Braylon Allen can get over his number. They tacked a 22.5 rushing total on Braylon Allen. So look for chunk plays once the rushing attack gets going. I know that doesn't sound like the MO to really attack New England, but I think they run it first and then we'll open it up with Aaron Rodgers over the top. And that's the recipe to get them to a victory and get this total over the 38.5. But we'll see how it plays out. You need another weapon outside of Garrett Wilson. It just can't be Rodgers to Wilson each and every play.
Yeah, Hall and Allen, it should be, again, if you're favored to win, which means you're going to be up in the fourth quarter, which means you should run for more yards and have more opportunities, as that is a nice Kevin Walsh breakdown, as he would appreciate that. But if we are looking at the running game on the opposite side for the New England Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson, are they setting us up here? Because you know the key to that offense is Stevenson running. I see a 65.5 number and say to myself, ooh, is that a setup here? Is that something you want to go after and say, he's probably going to get 20 carries, which means he should get 65.5 yards?
He should, but I'm not betting on Ramondre Stevenson tomorrow night, because if you're the New York Jets, you got to believe that they want to run the football. You have to take that away, right? So stack the box and force Jacoby Brissett to beat us over the top. That's why I actually like Hunter Henry over the 33.5. Demario Douglas has a cheap number as well in regards to his number. I think you go secondary wide receivers, and I think you go tight end. I want no part of Ramondre Stevenson unless it's from an in-game perspective. I'm not jumping in at the 65.5 hoping he can get 60 to 70 yards tomorrow night, because I think that's the first way that the New York Jets will take away the game plan and force the game on the passing attack with Brissett.
Let me ask you some secondary options on the New York Jets, because Garrett Wilson receiving yards 64.5. Alan Lazard listed at a 30.5. Mike Williams 22.5. Tyler Conklin at 21.5. Outside of Garrett Wilson quickly, any looks for the Jets wideouts?
I would take a shot on Conklin. He's been underutilized. Tight ends have always been a part of Aaron Rodgers' passing attack. And what about Mike Williams? Why they get Mike Williams if they don't want to utilize him?
Mm-hmm. Right, give me a red zone target. Give me something out of the guy. Big body, as you like to say, Joe. Down in the red zone, let's see it happen. But the boys will be live in studio tomorrow night. Don't miss out, 8:15 for some primetime action. Joe Lisi, Donnie, right side. Joe's going to continue. I'm headed to radio. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Ravens starting their season 0-2, and I mean the numbers and what the market had eyeing this team heading into this season is probably almost up in flames at this point.
Their last however many games being down 10 plus points in the fourth quarter, inability to close out, getting picked apart by what is largely considered a below average quarterback with a below average receiving core.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Talk about your freshman year at Alabama and even the redshirt year that got you ready to perform at the highest level.
You had to learn a lot about humility, about being patient to play at Alabama, and you still knew that you're going to have a shot to win a championship every year. And so that's the line. And so I think like that's what's really missing with today's football. You got NIL, you got social media.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Back on the Early Line. We'll be back. The guys will be back tomorrow morning, breaking down the New England Patriots and New York Jets. Donnie, myself, and Kevin Walsh will be in studio for in-game Pro Football Today live. We'll break it down. We'll talk about the weekend as well. But I've been 6-2 in regards to the buy bets. We'll see if we can continue the momentum. I was 1-1 last week, so give it to me, Friezo. Bye. Bye. Oh, there we go. So the two totals I'm in today, we'll start in Colorado. Arizona last night, I think they tacked on 12. It was 10. It was 8-2 in regards to that matchup. They're tacking a 10.5 number on this game with the Rockies. Gomber's on the mound. Take a shot. Colorado's been a little bit inconsistent over the past 4 or 5 games scoring runs. I think they could potentially break out. It's a 3:30 start. We'll go over Arizona and Colorado. We'll see if we can get it up to the teens, 12.5, potentially 13.5. That's what I'm looking at. And then the other game, Baltimore. Shut out last night by San Francisco. They're tacking an 8.5 total in regards to that matchup. I think San Francisco could score, but I also believe Baltimore could break out in a big way. So give me the total over San Francisco and Baltimore, your two totals, 6-2 every time I've been on the Early Line. We'll see if we can continue the momentum. Arizona, Colorado over the 10.5, over the 8, Baltimore and San Francisco. So we'll talk about that next week when I fill in. Let's talk college football. Big game on tap in regards to Ann Arbor. Michigan in the offseason was an 8.5-point favorite on FanDuel against USC. But that was before we knew about how good Miller Moss and that USC offense were. They got the victory week 1 as basically a 5-point underdog against LSU and Brian Kelly. USC undefeated. They have an extra week of preparation right now. They're coming off a shutout win over Utah State. Biggest improvement for me hasn't been Miller Moss. We knew he can throw the football. They're averaging 303 passing yards per game. The biggest turn for me has been that front seven of USC, and that's the matchup to look this coming Saturday against Michigan's rushing attack of Mullings and Donovan Edwards. You look at USC allowing only 100 rushing yards per game. Why is that important? Well, last year they were in the area of about 170 rushing yards allowed. They were getting torched in regards to the interior. They're going to need that type of effort going into the big house. We know about Michigan losing to Texas a couple of weeks ago. They're now catching 6.5, 5.5 on FanDuel right now. There's been a lot of fluctuation. We've also seen now Sharon Moore has named Alex Orji the new starting quarterback. Davis Warren struggled last week with 2 critical interceptions. Michigan limped through and walked through the motions with another lackluster win over Arkansas State. They got that victory 28-18, but did not cover the double-digit spread. You're going to get a better effort this weekend in the big house. It's a marquee game. You got a top 25 opponent, and I expect the rushing attack of not just Orji. Look for a breakout game of Mullings and Donovan Edwards in terms of this matchup. If USC is up to the task, they're going to win. I don't see it. I think Michigan strikes the upset as well. I think they're in this game from start to finish. They grind out a lower scoring game and give me the 5.5 points with the Wolverines on FanDuel. I think they're live this coming Saturday. Some other games to keep an eye out on in regards to college football. NC State and Clemson. It's an important ACC battle. Clemson dominated App State a couple of weeks ago, covered the 16.5-point number. The last time that North Carolina State won in Death Valley was back in 2002 with their coach Chuck Amato. It's a long time since the Wolfpack have actually played well in regards to Death Valley. The last 4 meetings have been decided by an average margin of defeat of 23 points per game. Cade Klubnik and Davos Sweeney and that team have an extra week of preparation. I know Bailey, the freshman quarterback taking over for Grayson McCall gets the start this weekend. We've seen this line balloon from 16.5 up as high as 20.5, potentially 21 on FanDuel. Keep an eye out for that. I don't think NC State wins, but I do feel they're well within the number this coming Saturday night in Death Valley. Another team that could be potentially on upset alert is the Miami Hurricanes going to Tampa to take on Byron Brown and the USF Bulls. This line opened up in regards to basically 15.5, 16. It's now over a key number of 17.5. This is a battle-tested team in regards to USF. They pushed Alabama to the limit a couple weeks ago, can run the football. If they can have success on the ground, they'll keep Cam Ward on the sidelines and cover that 16.5 point number. The boys will be back tomorrow. We'll see you this weekend. Greg Mish and Newswire coming up next.